The mystery of rebirth. How a fetal consciousness enters the womb and chooses its parents, not by chance, but determined by karma. How does the consciousness of a fetus enter into the womb? The Buddha Shakyamuni unveils the secret of the cycle of death and rebirth. The cycle of life and death is one of the core mysteries of Buddhism. How do sentient beings move back and forth among the six realms? And in what way does their consciousness enter a mother's womb? This age-old mystery has perplexed practitioners from ancient times to the present. One day, the Venerable Ananda came to ask the Buddha for advice. With his supreme wisdom, the Buddha Shakyamuni revealed the mysterious process by which the consciousness of a fetus enters the womb. This secret discourse contains the key to liberation from birth and death, and it also unveils the ultimate mystery of rebirth. It was a serene late afternoon. Golden sunlight streamed down onto the green stones of the first assembly hall, casting long shadows. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, as if singing a soft chant. The Buddha Shakyamuni sat beneath the Bodhi tree, his face compassionate, his eyes half closed, and a soft radiance emanated from his body. The Venerable Ananda and the other monks sat around him, immersed in this peaceful and harmonious atmosphere. At that moment, Ananda suddenly recalled a scene he had witnessed while collecting alms in the city the previous day, the expectant mother's eyes, filled with longing and joy for the coming life. This image stirred a question that had long haunted him. Today, at last, he could no longer refrain from asking the Buddha for guidance. Venerable Buddha, I have a doubt that I hesitate to speak out loud. The Buddha opened his eyes kindly and smiled at Ananda. If you have a doubt, ask freely. This is the way to seek the Dharma. Ananda inhaled deeply and expressed his confusion. Venerable Buddha, I often ponder this question. All sentient beings undergo rebirth in the six realms. How does the consciousness enter the mother's womb? Is it scheduled beforehand, or does it happen naturally? Is it a conscious choice, or is it drawn in by karmic forces? I feel foolish and cannot truly understand. The hall fell silent. All the monks held their breath, awaiting the Buddha's teaching. This question concerned the origin of life and encompassed the very heart of the mystery of rebirth. It was indeed a profound question, worthy of deep contemplation. The face of the Buddha Shakyamuni grew solemn. He looked around at his disciples, eager to learn, and then spoke slowly. Ananda, what you ask is one of the greatest misunderstandings of sentient beings. Today I will explain it, so that future generations may grasp this truth. After death, a being's consciousness leaves the body and drifts according to its karma. If the karma is heavy with unwholesome deeds, it falls into one of the three lower realms. If the karma is light, it may attain a human body or even ascend to a heavenly realm. This consciousness resembles a sleepwalker, blown about by the winds of karma, seeking parents for its next life according to its conditions. The Venerable Mahakassapa could not help but interject and ask, Venerable World-Honored One, how does the consciousness choose its parents? Is it a conscious decision or a passive attraction? The Buddha nodded and replied, This is indeed a proper question in your mind. In reality, the consciousness of every being is drawn by its own karma, just as fragrance draws insects to flowers. It finds parents with whom it has affinity. There are three scenarios: good karma from previous lives, unwholesome karma from previous lives, or unresolved karmic debts. As you see, some families are harmonious, with children who honor their parents. In others, enemies gather and hatred persists. All are manifestations of causes and effects from past lives. Ananda pondered, then asked again, Venerable World-Honored One, how and when does the consciousness enter the womb? The Buddha smiled and said, For a being to enter the womb, three conditions must be met. The mother's body must be receptive, the parents must unite in sexual relations, and a consciousness must be present. When a healthy woman is in the right condition and the parents engage in intercourse at that time, a nearby predisposed consciousness will be drawn in by karmic force. At this point, a young monk could not contain his curiosity and asked, Venerable Buddha, is there an analogy in the world that resembles the process of a consciousness entering the womb? Could you give us an example to help us understand more clearly? The Buddha considered for a moment, then nodded. A good question. The consciousness entering the womb is like a seed germinating in suitable soil, nourished by water and sunlight. The mother's womb is the soil, the father's seed is the water, and the rhythmic warmth is the sunlight. Only when these three elements harmonize can a new life form. Just as insects are attracted by the scent of a flower and fly toward it, so too is consciousness guided by its karma toward the parents to whom it is connected. The monks listened attentively but still had some doubts. An elder monk asked, "Venerable Buddha, after the consciousness enters the fetus, does it remember its past lives? Why do we have no recollection of our previous existences?" The Buddha gazed compassionately at the monk and said, "Very good. That is a most interesting question. When a being enters the womb, it brings with it the karma of previous lives. Yet at the threshold of birth and death, it is as though one has taken a medicine that obscures all memory of prior existences. Only through deep and diligent practice can one recall the causes and conditions of former lives." Ananda's eyes brightened with the thirst for knowledge. He asked again, "Venerable world-honored one, once the consciousness has entered the mother's body, how does it gradually form a complete fetus? Is there some mystery behind this?" The Buddha's gaze flashed like lightning as he stared at the assembly of monks. "Ananda, do you know that the very moment the fetus's consciousness enters the womb is the greatest secret revealed of the 6 realms of samsara? Ordinary people know only life and death, yet do not understand the mystery behind them. The cycle of rebirth through the 3 realms and the 6 destinies arises from clinging and a single thought. At conception, consciousness and body unite, containing the final secret of life and death." His voice suddenly dropped to a low tone. Silence fell, and every monk held his breath, waiting. What the Buddha was about to reveal was a truth that spans the earth, capable of helping all beings transcend samsara and reach nirvana. In that hush, the Buddha's voice rang out softly yet clearly, like a bell echoing through the forest. Beings fall into the wheel of birth and death through a single thought of delusion. When that thought combines with past karma, consciousness seeks out a fitting rebirth. And in that very instant, when father and mother unite, the consciousness descends like a lightning bolt, beginning the formation of a new body. For the 10 months of gestation, consciousness endures countless sufferings, as though imprisoned in darkness, undergoing every transformation of body and mind, driven by karma with every breath and heartbeat. Ananda was struck silent, his heart filled with both awe and compassion. He whispered, "Venerable world-honored one, if rebirth is such a harrowing process, why do beings continue to cycle without seeking liberation?" The Buddha paused, then pointed to the crimson sky at dusk. "Out of ignorance, beings cling to this body as true, to sensations as self, and to the world as an eternal home. Because of attachment to self, desire, and craving, they remain bound to samsara. It is like a moth drawn to flame, unaware that the very light will consume it. Beings chase sensual pleasure, fame, and affection, never realizing that these are the seeds of suffering in lives to come." A breeze rose and the leaves rustled louder, as though carrying the breath of drifting lives. The Buddha continued, "Ananda, if one wishes to escape samsara, one must contemplate deeply. Life does not begin at birth, nor does death mark the end. The source is a single thought. If that thought is abandoned, one transcends birth and death. What is that thought? It is greed, hatred, and delusion. When the mind is purified and wisdom arises, consciousness is no longer dragged by karma. Then there is no need to choose parents nor be driven into rebirth. One abides freely in life and death, like a lotus rising from the mud unstained." The Buddha clasped his hands, his eyes half closed. "Therefore, monks, if you wish to understand the mystery of life and death, observe every breath and every thought, and never allow ignorance to veil you. Remember, to know the origin of a single life is to hold in your hand the key to liberation." The assembly remained motionless. In that moment, an unseen light seemed to illuminate each monk's mind, as though awakening them from a long dream. Moved to tears, Ananda bowed deeply to the Buddha and said, "Venerable Buddha, by your gracious teaching we now understand the profound causes of life, death, and rebirth. May we strive tirelessly in every lifetime until ignorance is uprooted and we are freed from samsara." The Buddha smiled. The last rays of sunset glinted off his compassionate gaze like a halo across the world. As he fell silent, the assembly remained in stillness. The evening wind seemed to pause so that every syllable of his teaching could settle deep within their hearts. Ananda bowed again, his mind alight with insights he had never before heard. Then a young monk, his eyes shining with newly awakened light, stepped forward and respectfully asked, "Venerable world-honored one, you have described how consciousness enters the womb, yet I still do not understand. Before entering, where does consciousness go? Does it wander in confusion? And what guides it to choose the right moment and place to inhabit a forming body?" The Buddha sat quietly for a long moment, then spoke gently. "Good man, listen carefully. Your question is not merely about a single lifetime, but is the overture to countless destinies. When one takes the last breath, consciousness, also called the bardo or intermediate state, immediately separates from the physical body. If one has cultivated merit, recited the Buddha's name, observed precepts, and performed good deeds, the intermediate consciousness is guided by pure light, departing gently and unburdened. But if one has lived in greed, hatred, and delusion and accumulated much unrepentant evil, that consciousness is drawn into dark and heavy realms. Sometimes it becomes lost, not knowing it has died, roaming the intermediate state like a drifting cloud. The bardo can last up to 7 days. If conditions for rebirth are not met, it extends another 7 days, up to 49 days, before karma forces it into a fitting realm. Some fall into the 3 lower realms, others ascend to heaven. Still others, as you ask, find human rebirth and begin the journey of entering the womb. But conception is not random. It is a choice of karma, not of intellect. What beings have done in countless past lives draws them into corresponding circumstances for rebirth. A child seeks its mother due to bonds of gratitude or debt. It may be reborn to repay kindness or to claim a debt. Ananda looked up, his eyes cavernous. "World-honored one, is that why some children are born with deformities or illnesses, or into poor and unhappy circumstances?" The Buddha nodded slowly and replied, "Exactly. Everything that a being experiences from within the mother's womb throughout life is not random. It is the result of seeds sown by past actions. Some children are born healthy, intelligent, and loved because in previous lives they gave alms, offered gifts, upheld the precepts, and honored their parents. Others are born abandoned and in pain because they once killed, were unfilial, and caused suffering to others. Each life situation is a fruit of past karma, and each breath is a link in the chain of karmic momentum." The entire assembly bowed their heads. The atmosphere turned solemn and hushed. After hearing the Buddha's teaching on how consciousness enters the womb, a young novice lowered his head and asked with a trembling voice, "World-honored one, I have heard that being born a human is difficult, but being in the womb is even more difficult. Please explain what sufferings a being endures in the mother's womb." The Buddha closed his eyes softly, as if recalling a scene veiled by the mists of samsara. Once a being enters the womb, it is as if locked in a dark, damp, cramped prison. There is no light, no sense of direction, only the sensations of wetness, suffocation, and constriction. From the very moment the father's seed and mother's essence unite, if consciousness is present, it is like a spark touching a nascent life. From that tiny point, the body begins to take shape. Each passing day brings change, but not gentle growth, rather, a subtle chain of pains. In the first month, the form is faint and the consciousness muddled, like being in a dream. In the second month, head, hands, and feet begin to form, yet the aches and itchiness tear at the being piece by piece. By the third month, the consciousness begins to sense the body but cannot move or escape. Every mother's breath sends shockwaves. When she feels anger, eats spicy foods, or harbors unwholesome thoughts, waves of poison surge into the fetus. When she experiences fear or anxiety, it pierces the little consciousness like needles. If she consumes meat or alcohol, the fetus inhales the stench of blood and the pungency of violence. It is like living in a narrow hell, without a moment's peace. Tears glistened in Ananda's eyes as he asked, "Venerable world-honored one, during those 9 months, does the fetus know suffering?" Is it aware of its own existence? The Buddha nodded. His gaze became distant. Consciousness is a stream of energy carrying habits, emotions, memories, and thoughts. Though obscured by karma, there are moments in the womb when the being clearly senses imprisonment, pain, and utter loneliness. It cannot call for help, cry aloud, or flee. It can only receive everything its parents create, both their unwholesome deeds and their merits. If the mother chants the Buddha's name, keeps precepts, and eats vegetarian, even in the womb the consciousness hears the Dharma and bathes in wholesome light. It will be more peaceful, with less anger. Upon birth, it is easier to nurture, to teach, and shows virtuous tendencies early. But some fetuses live amid the mother's hatred, insecurity, and wrath. That consciousness becomes closed, anxious, even sowing seeds of anger before birth. This is a silent suffering no one knows. A novice trembled and bowed, tears brimming. Truly, 9 months in the womb are like 9 levels of hell. The Buddha spoke softly. Therefore, when a child cries out at birth, it is not a greeting to life but the sound of a soul that has endured torments. No one hears its cry for help in the womb. No one knows the loneliness of a being bound by a finite body. In the stillness of the assembly, an elder monk folded his hands and asked, "World-honored one, consciousness undergoes such suffering in the womb, carrying karma and memories of many lives. Yet at birth we remember nothing. Why do beings forget all they have experienced? If they remembered, they might not perpetuate the cycle." The Buddha smiled, his gaze serene as the deep sea. "Your question is excellent. It is like a sleepwalker who, upon waking, cannot recall where he went or what he did. When consciousness enters the womb, it falls into a similar state under the fog of ignorance. Ignorance is the root of samsara. It veils memory, erases old paths, and makes beings believe this is their first life, first pain, first love, first hate. At conception, karma acts like a black curtain covering memory. All that was seen, heard, and felt in previous lives gradually fades away. What remains are latent tendencies, what people call character. Some are born afraid of water, fire, or darkness. Others are born drawn to flowers, light, or meditation. These are residual traces of many lifetimes, no longer intact like pages of a book, but like ink blots or a fleeting fragrance on the breeze. Ananda listened quietly, then asked, "Venerable world-honored one, is there anyone who can remember past lives?" The Buddha gently nodded. "Yes, but it is very rare. Only those who have cultivated diligently, lived in pure moral discipline, developed deep concentration, and opened their wisdom can penetrate the veil of ignorance. It is like a skilled diver who must plunge deep to recover a pearl from the ocean floor. When the mind is purified and undisturbed by wandering thoughts, wisdom shines like a lamp illuminating 1,000 past lifetimes. Only then does one realize that all debts of resentment, bonds of affection, and karmic entanglements in this life are but a continuation of an endless stream. Seeing this clearly, one no longer harbors pity or hatred toward anyone, but maintains a single wish, to practice the path of liberation and help others." The Buddha paused, then continued in a solemn tone. "But most beings, upon their first cry at birth, signal the beginning of ignorance anew. They grow up learning to speak, to love, to hate, to resent. They chase after fame, wealth, sensual pleasure, and power. Then, at death, they forget again, weep again, and once more repeat the endless cycle of samsara. This is the curse of ignorance. Few have the affinity to transcend it." The wind began to howl, stirring the Bodhi leaves into a rustling uproar. The entire assembly sat motionless, every gaze fixed upon the Buddha, as if ready to receive another level of truth from the ocean of samsara. Ananda again folded his hands and asked softly, "World-honored one, I have long wondered, why are some children born bringing joy and blessings to their families, while others cause endless suffering, even hatred? Is there a complex karmic connection behind each child?" The Buddha nodded and explained patiently. "Son of noble family, what you describe is the fruit of past karma and the karmic bonds between parents and child over many lifetimes. No child comes to a mother and father without reason. Each life is the fulfillment of karmic links woven long ago. Mundane people think children are born by chance, but to the Buddhists, a child's arrival is the result of 3 kinds of karmic affinity: repayment of kindness, repayment of enmity, and settling or claiming debts. Repayment of kindness. Some children are born healthy, intelligent, gentle, polite, diligent in study, and filial. They never caused their parents sorrow. This is because in past lives the parents were benefactors to that being. Perhaps they nurtured, saved, taught, or supported the Dharma. That consciousness takes rebirth as their child to repay that kindness. Such children are a family's blessing. Their presence brings harmony, career success, and the averting of misfortune. Repayment of enmity. Other children are born to bring turmoil, illness, deformity, difficulty to raise or grow up to vice, theft, cruelty, or betrayal. Some even harm their own parents. People mistake this for tragic luck or ungrateful children. In truth, these are resentful foes reborn. In past cycles, the parents harmed that soul by killing, betraying, or deeply wronging it. Now that fruit of hatred has not yet ripened, the being returns as their child to exact vengeance, yet still relies on them for care. This is a heavy retribution, settling or claiming debts. Other karmic ties compel reciprocal suffering. Some children cause parents great labor, expense, and endless illness, yet are loved unconditionally, the parents repaying a debt to that soul. Conversely, some children die soon after birth. Parents grieve deeply, but do not realize that the soul came only to claim an owed kindness before departing. Some souls stay only to accompany us briefly, some to share a portion of life's path, others to teach the lesson of loss. Human connections remind us that love without understanding becomes an additional chain in samsara. The Buddha paused, gazing into the distance as his voice resonated. Therefore, when beings bring children into the world, do not judge merely by appearances. Understand that each child mirrors your own karmic causes and effects. If you wish your child to be gentle and fortunate, repent of wrongdoing, cultivate merit, dedicate it to their benefit, and raise them with compassion rather than attachment. Without the wisdom to transform loving bonds, they become the shackles of future lives. Without compassion to dissolve hatred, resentments will grow in samsara. Twilight had fully fallen, and the sun cast only a deep red glow. From the far mountain breeze came the faint scent of wildflowers and damp earth. In that space, the Buddha's words still rang with the warmth of a bell among the sleepwalking beings of the world. A young monk, having listened in depth to the Dharma of parental karma, asked softly, "World-honored one, can consciousness choose where to be reborn? Or is it all driven by karma? Can a being ever voluntarily select its realm or parents?" The Buddha looked straight into his clear, yearning eyes. Those eyes reflect the deep spring of youthful aspiration for liberation. He nodded slowly and began to teach. If you understand this, you will open the great door of cause and effect. Rebirth of consciousness is neither simply cast, like a leaf in the storm of karma, nor entirely a deliberate choice as laypeople imagine. It is a subtle interplay of guidance and selection. Consider a seed falling from a branch. To an ordinary observer it seems random, but under the law of karma it lands where conditions best suit its germination. Similarly, after leaving the body, consciousness is drawn toward realms that correspond to its mental energies. If the mind is greedy, deluded, and selfish, it will be pulled to lower realms, into families that reflect unwholesome conditions or lives of suffering. If the mind has practiced generosity, kept the precepts, and maintained wholesome thoughts, it resonates with pure and benevolent realms where it may practice and learn. The Buddha surveyed the assembly and continued. 3 types of beings are swept away by karmic momentum at rebirth. Most live without cultivation, their minds dominated by overwhelming desires, anger, and grasping. At death, the force of karma, like a spreading fire, seizes them instantly, without heed. They may aspire to human rebirth, yet still fall into animal, hell, or hungry ghost realms, like dry grass alighting in flame, helpless against the blaze. There is an active component. A minority are those who practice cultivation, observe precepts, and perform good deeds but have not yet attained saintly fruition. Thanks to merit and wisdom, they can perceive some of the realms before them and choose a more wholesome rebirth, for example, into a family with a cultivation lineage, with parents who have faith in the triple gem, or into a place with affinity to the Dharma. But they are still not completely free. If at the final moment a misleading thought arises, they can still be pulled off course by karma. True mastery over birth and death is extremely rare. It belongs to arahants, bodhisattvas, or practitioners who have attained deep absorption. They are no longer governed by karma but use their great vows to enter the cycle of birth and death. They choose their parents, their place of rebirth, and their Buddha field in order to save beings and teach the Dharma. Such individuals are born not because of karma but because of vow. The Buddha paused, his eyes shining. Therefore, in samsara there are children born as burdens, but there are also those born as lights. Depending on the mind, one is born. Depending on karma, one arrives. Nothing is random. Not a single dewdrop falls incorrectly, not a single step goes astray. And every life, no matter how great or small, is the continuation of an endless chain of dependent origination. Then Monikasayapa spoke gently. Venerable world-honored one, I have heard that the mind stream does not necessarily enter the womb just once but may enter and depart. There are 3 important transitional moments. Please teach us more clearly about these stages and whether there are any signs by which to recognize them. The Buddha smiled. Light from his gaze penetrated the hearts of those present. Indeed, the mind stream does not necessarily enter immediately and remain fixed from the first moment. The process of entering the womb is a resonance among conditions, karma, and physiological factors. There are 3 pivotal moments. If conditions and karma suffice, the mind stream will enter the fetus. 1. At the moment of conception, the initial thought arises for a new body. This is the first stage, when the paternal seed and maternal blood unite. If a mind stream is drifting and karma responds at that moment, it will enter immediately. This is the clearest and most forceful case. In that instant, the 3 factors, seed, embryo, and mind stream, merge into one entity, creating the first wave. This is also when karma strongly arises to shape the basis of that life. It determines gender, features, physique, faculties, even merits or sufferings in the next life. A being reborn at that moment does so because of strong karmic resonance. It cannot be delayed, like fire meeting wood or water flowing into a brook. Everything happens without error. 2. In the 3rd week, when the mind's subtle movement occurs. There are cases after fertilization where the mind stream does not enter immediately but hovers nearby. When the embryo begins to take form, once it has enough basic structures such as brain, heart, and marrow, the mind stream enters as smoke enters soft matter. This is the stage when many enlightened beings can perceive the spiritual presence. If the mother cultivates loving kindness and observes precepts, she often feels warmth in her body, has peaceful dreams, or sees golden light. Some dream of encountering late relatives, of cradling a child, or of meeting a venerable elder smiling and handing them something. Those are signs of communication between the mind stream and the mother. 3. At the final settling that determines destiny. This is the last stage, when the fetal form is completed. If the mind stream has not yet fully entered, this is the final moment of formation. There are cases of late entry due to delayed karmic causes or obstructing forces. At that time, if the mother violates precepts by killing living beings or harbors evil thoughts, anger, or contempt toward the fetus, she will harm the subtle connection between the mind stream and the embryo and may cause defects or the birth of a child lacking full faculties. On the other hand, if the parents recite mantras, chant the Buddha's name, and perform good deeds, they help the mind stream to enter peacefully, activating the meditation seeds. The sacred signs at the moment when the soul enters include the mother dreaming of lotus blossoms, noticing clear fluids in her body, experiencing fewer ailments, having radiant and nourished skin, feeling calm with less anger, being moved by acts of goodness, and family harmony with unexpected joyful news. Ordinary people rarely notice these, but those with deep spiritual faculties can sense them. A mother with blessed karma radiates pure energy, making those near her feel cool and lighthearted. The Buddha concluded slowly. Remember, giving birth to a child is not only about the present. It is the result of countless lifetimes of causes and conditions. When a soul returns to a body, it is a journey traveling through infinite eons of suffering with the vow to start anew. So do not take it lightly or casually. Cherish and sow merit for every fetus as if you were planting a lotus bud waiting for it to bloom in a deep pond. The sun fully set behind the mountains and the sky turned deep purple. The leaves on the Bodhi tree ceased rustling as if to listen to the profound Dharma talk that only those who have drifted through countless births and deaths can truly feel. Then Subhuti spoke softly. Venerable world-honored one, in what circumstances can the mind stream fail to enter the womb? Is it because conditions are insufficient or because karmic forces obstructed? When that happens, where does the mind stream go, and does it suffer great distress? The Buddha nodded, his gaze reflecting pity for a soul drifting in midair. Those souls that cannot be reborn fall into an extended intermediate state. Without a body or place of refuge, they are blown by winds of karma everywhere. They often linger near places of past connection, such as the home of the mother or father, or near hospitals or cemeteries. They do no harm but wail silently in despair like a cry that never forms into words. They wait for someone to remember them, to offer incense or recite a Buddha's name, to give them a glimmer of light in the boundless night sky. Frequent unexplained awakenings and crying from young children in the house at night. After a miscarriage, the mother often feels fatigued, suffers insomnia, dreams of the child, or hears faint calls. Trees around the home wither for no apparent reason. Domestic instability, good endeavors interrupted or ruined. The Buddha taught, do not allow any being to suffer because of ignorance. Even unintentionally or beyond one's control, sincerely repent, resolve to recite sutras, chant the Buddha's name, and dedicate merits to those wandering spirits. If possible, hold a merit transference ceremony, invite monks to support the intention, or recite the Kitagarbha Sutra dedicating its merit to those unborn souls. A single drop of compassionate water can quench the thirst of a spirit 40,000 years old. A genuine word of repentance can open the door to rebirth for children who never had the chance to cry their first cry. The Buddha paused, eyes closed for a moment, as if listening to thousands of muffled cries from the invisible realms. Then he gently opened his eyes and concluded the discourse. Those souls, though never fully formed, still live a life, harbor a loving thought, and dream an unfinished dream. A human life cut in half. Do not let a mother's lullaby become a haunting memory. Do not let a child's cry become an endless wandering wind. Show compassion, even for children unborn. Night had fallen. The moon emerged from behind gray clouds like a lantern suspended above, shining softly on the Buddha's serene countenance. The assembly remained unmoving, the story of lost souls still echoing in every monk's heart. A young monk, voice trembling with sincerity, spoke. Venerable world-honored one, we now understand the process of entering the womb and the suffering in the womb. Yet I still have one question. Why are some fetuses born with illnesses or disabilities, or show abnormalities even in the mother's womb? Is it due to that child's past life karma? And how can we understand karma? The Buddha nodded slightly, gazed into emptiness, and taught. Indeed, what you describe are manifestations of fetal karma, meaning the embryo formed under unwholesome karmic conditions leading to an incomplete body, distorted dispositions, or a life beset by suffering from the very first moment. When unwholesome thoughts arise at conception, they create negative karma for the body. Specifically, if father or mother at the time of conception harbors impure thoughts of lust, anger, or evil intent, or violates precepts and disrespects the triple gem, those thoughts act like a toxic current directly entering the frequency of the mind stream seeking a new birth. If that mind stream also carries unwholesome intentions from a past life, such as craving life, violence, or sexual harm, then the two negative karmas merge, producing a body full of defects, developmental delays, or severe illness at birth. Some fetuses, bearing heavy killing karma from their earliest formation, result in stillbirth, miscarriage, premature birth, or early death. Beings who in past lives were cruel murderers reincarnate as physically paralyzed children, without limbs, mute, deaf, or blind. Those who deceived others with cunning words are born unable to speak, or if they speak, no one trusts them. Nothing happens by chance. When parents create wholesome karma, they can rescue even a suffering mind stream. Conversely, even ignorant parents who adopt vegetarianism, observe precepts, recite mantras, chant the Buddha's name, practice, release living beings, and make offerings, can partially transform the unwholesome karma of the incoming mind stream. A mind stream destined for a defective form, upon contact with wholesome energy, may have its suffering lessened. Blindness may become weak vision, muteness may become delayed speech, paralysis may become physical weakness, and sometimes, through parental merit and pregnancy, the child may be born completely healthy and gentle. He paused, then continued. Therefore, if a child is born carrying fetal karma, do not blame heaven or destiny. Understand that this child is a being in need of salvation, not scorn. If parents cultivate compassion and wisdom, they can raise that child as though caring for a young bodhisattva. Perhaps that child once nurtured you in a past life. Love can transform karma, understanding can liberate, and patience can save a drifting soul. A mother's heart can open the way for karmic resolution. A mother who maintains peace of mind, refrains from killing, false speech, sexual misconduct, and anger, allows even a heavily burdened mind stream to shed some hatred, ignorance, and depravity. If the mother daily recites the Kitagarbha Sutra, the Medicine Buddha Sutra, or chants the Buddha's name dedicating merit to the fetus, the embryo will be bathed in the Buddha's light, giving those with fetal karma an opportunity for transformation and a path toward the wholesome Dharma. The Buddha paused, and after a moment of silence he concluded, "No one is utterly unfortunate. Only those who do not rely on wholesome conditions remain in suffering. No child is a permanent burden. Only those without understanding fail to turn hatred into gratitude and karma into merit. Every being can be a late-blooming lotus if given enough light, love, and wisdom. A nighttime breeze swept through the meditation hall. The moon rose high, casting silver light over the mountains like a silent sutra. In that stillness, a very young novice with eyes bright from what he had heard spoke softly. "Venerable world-honored one, I have seen fetuses die early in the womb, infants who die at birth, and those who live only a few months before passing away. Those souls are so pitiable. I do not understand why they come into this life so briefly. Is this retribution, or merely a harsh twist of causes and conditions?" The Buddha remained silent for a long time. The wind seemed to cease, and the forest hushed. Perhaps he was listening to distant cries in the invisible realms, voices that never found expression, and little souls never called by name. Then the Buddha gently spoke. "Children, a life in this world, whether lasting only months or existing only in the womb for a brief moment, is still a life, still a karmic result, still a rebirth journey. A fetus dying young is the outcome of short-term karmic conditions." The Buddha compassionately taught that some spirits in past lives committed very heavy unwholesome deeds such as killing and destroying the fetuses of others. Having suffered in hell, they are now reborn as humans but with only the thinnest merits like morning dew. Their lives last only as long as their karmic lifespan allows. When the conditions end, they fall away like a leaf in early autumn. There are also spirits who in a previous life promised, "I will return to see my mother once." But due to the strength of causes and conditions, they can only appear once before returning to their former place. That is an encounter, not a continued stay. And some infants who die young come precisely to awaken repentance in their parents or to inspire that family to cultivate loving kindness and good deeds, thus completing their karmic connection before departing. The Buddha looked down, his gaze as deep as the bottom of a river, and said, "Some souls die early because during the pregnancy the parents killed too many living beings, catching fish, slaughtering chickens, or consumed raw foods while the mother's mind was filled with anger. Such acts wound the tender consciousness so deeply that it departs prematurely. There are also children who are saints reborn, meant to remain just a few months in the womb to plant a profound karmic seed before the heavens open a path for a fuller life in the future." A monk asked through tears, "When the fetus dies but the consciousness still exists, where does the child's spirit go? Does it fall into a lower realm? Does it ever return?" The Buddha silently nodded and answered, "They do not perish. They remain in the intermediate state, the bardo, an tenuous, unsupported existence unless they are liberated. Some infants bear resentment because they were rejected or harmed in the womb. Their sorrow and anger form karmic bonds with the parents. Others, having no hatred, will be reborn into another family or await the right conditions in the same family before returning once more. That is why certain families who lose a child will, a few years later, give birth to another with the same name or see the lost child return in a dream. The new child's unusual habits mirror those of the one who passed because it is the same spirit continuing an unfinished bond. When a fetus dies early, do not only grieve or flee from the pain. Acknowledge any faults, repent sincerely for any harm done. Recite the Buddha's name to dedicate merit so the spirit is no longer attached or sorrowful at being forsaken. Read the Kittagarbha Sutra, chant Amitabha's name, perform acts of compassion, give alms, and dedicate the merit to these children. That is the sole path to dissolve karmic hatred and open a gentler door to rebirth. Name the child. Love the child. Invoke its name in your prayers as if embracing the little spirit once more so it knows that, however brief, it was a sacred part of this life. A breeze rustled through the forest and leaves fell in a soft hush. Perhaps a small spirit had just been touched. The night's Dharma talk continued, yet no one departed. Every word of the Buddha shone like a torch in the dense darkness of ignorance. Stories of wandering souls, of ill-fated infants, and of karmic rebirth made the meditation hall unusually still. It seemed as though everyone listened not only with their ears but with their very spirits. Mahanama, a monk with divine vision, gently folded his hands and asked the Blessed One, having initiated the intention to liberate these spirits, "What is the most appropriate method to dedicate merit so that the spirits truly receive it and attain peace and liberation?" The Buddha smiled kindly, his calm voice resonating like a bell across many realms, and said, "Good youth, understanding the law of rebirth is not enough. You must practice to transform it. Know that rebirth is not punishment but the result of all thoughts, words, dreams, loves, and hatreds in countless lifetimes. If craving, anger, and ignorance persist, no matter the realm you were born into, you will ultimately fall back into suffering. See clearly that the roots of rebirth are ignorance and desire. Being cycle endlessly because of these two deep roots, ignorance, not seeing the true nature of body, mind, and world, and desire, clinging to sensual pleasures, wealth, fame, attachments, even to life after death. Through ignorance, they do not realize how many times they have died. Through desire, they cling to return for more love, life, and possessions. Thus, rebirth is not coercion but attraction by unceasing restless thoughts. The path to end rebirth is the path of awakening. To cease rebirth, do not pray to any deity or offer any gift. Practice now. Begin with precepts. Keep body, speech, and mind pure. Cultivate concentration. Train the mind to be still and dwell in right mindfulness. Develop wisdom. See clearly impermanence, non-self, and cease all attachments. With wisdom, beings no longer fear death or crave life, but enter full awakening, where there is no birth and death, known as nirvana. If rebirth is necessary, let it be with mindfulness. The Buddha said, if you lack sufficient merit to end the cycle, at least be reborn with awareness. Some merit to be born in a good realm with virtuous parents. Chant the Buddha's name to be guided to a blissful realm. Practice compassion so that in the mother's womb there is no suffering. Repent past karma to avoid being born with an incomplete body. When a being enters the womb with mindfulness, even within samsara, it is like a lotus rising unstained from the mud. And finally, know there are countless beings awaiting birth. The Buddha gazed upon the assembly and slowly concluded, people love only those children who are already born, with bodies and cries. But I tell you there are countless spirits yet to arrive in the world, tens of thousands of mind streams drifting through the realms, seeking warmth to be born again. There are children never named, never awaited, never seeing the light. Love those children. Resolve to liberate those children. Live as the mother of all spirits, as a bodhisattva protecting those little ones waiting for rebirth. That is the true beginning of the path to liberation. The Buddha nodded, his eyes gentle and clear like a tranquil lake under an autumn moon. Dedicating merit correctly is not merely ritual. It is a spiritual force of immense power. If the person performing the dedication keeps the body pure, committing no evil, upholding moral precepts, behaving with dignity, and the speech pure, utterly harmonious, free from falsehood, insult, and anger, and the mind pure, free from discrimination and craving for fame or gain, earnestly wishing only that the departed spirit be reborn in peace. Then the dedication truly penetrates the many realms to reach the soul in need of salvation. Dedicating merit means sharing one's wholesome merit rather than diminishing it. Though life is brief, when lived with mindfulness and compassion, each day gains meaning. People do not truly fear suffering. They fear suffering without understanding why. Some anxieties smolder for years. Some children, seemingly born under favorable stars, endure hardship and failure as they grow. Some families appear warm and stable from the outside, yet are cold and distant within, with no one truly knowing another under the same roof. Then we begin to doubt fate, doubt the law of cause and effect, even doubt our own goodness. We may live quietly and harmlessly, light incense daily, pray to the Buddhas, honor our ancestors, and perform kind deeds, yet feel unheard. Our children may seem unloved by heaven, but do not be quick to judge or to abandon hope. Do not think yourself without blessing. Some blessings do not appear grand. They dwell quietly in the smallest moments. Some obstacles do not descend in disasters, but seep in through distorted thoughts and hidden resentments we carry each day. Today I do not come to tell you what you must do, nor to insist that you recite sutras or perform ceremonies every single day. If you are too busy or forget once in a while, that is no fault. What I wish is simply to sit here and share 5 simple practices that can illuminate an entire household. If a mother, the keeper of the household's flame, each day at least generates one wholesome thought and keeps her heart inclined toward goodness, not only will her children's fortune change, but the entire family will gradually shine with a wondrous light. This is not magic, but principle. It is not superstition, but the law of karma. And remember, performing these 3 things is not a limit. The more you do, the greater your peace of mind. If you listen fully, absorb every word, understand every phrase, perhaps you will not only preserve blessings for your children, but open a new path for your own life. Now please settle your mind and listen, for what I am about to share may be the answer you have quietly sought all these years. The first practice is to let go of resentment, cultivate compassion, and refrain from hurtful words so that your children inherit wholesome karma. Have you ever wondered why some children are born gentle, easy to raise, quick to learn, and succeed effortlessly, while others, despite no one teaching them wrong, grow stubborn, prone to illness, unpredictable, as if an invisible force impedes them? Many think this is fate, but the truth begins with the mother. It is not in what she feeds or clothes them, nor in the prestige of the schools she sends them to, but in whether her own heart is truly gentle and serene, whether she can release anger and grievances. A mother with a peaceful heart becomes a guiding lamp for her child. When the lamp is bright, the child sees the way. When it dims, the child becomes confused. Yet a mother's heart is seldom at rest. Many do not know, or they forget, that karma affects not only oneself but all beloved ones, especially one's children. Like an invisible wind that can topple a forest, a mother's silent resentment alone can generate a quiet current of karma that sweeps her child off course. In Buddhism, there is a profound concept called shared karma. Those bound by blood, especially mother and child, share the same spiritual energy field. When the mother's mind trembles, the child's mind feels unrest. When the mother harbors resentment, the child is born as if caught in a karmic wind. When the mother sighs in frustration, the child absorbs that resentment and grows up with a heart full of thorns. I want to tell you a true story. A woman was betrayed by her husband, demeaned by her mother-in-law, and deserted by friends. Everyone said she was gentle and kind, but only she knew the depths of her unhealed wounds and suppressed anger. Every night she would relive the cruel words and past injustices in her mind. She spoke to no one in anger and harmed no one, but in her heart she silently prayed for heaven to see her pain and punish the wicked. Her son was difficult from birth, fiery in temperament, struggling in school, and later facing one obstacle after another in life. He carried inside him a current of her unspoken anguish, not in appearance but in spirit, feeling the world unjust and people unloving. One day, by chance, she heard a monk lecture on the mind's karma and the invisible effect of a mother's mind on her child's fortune. She wept not out of resentment, but from sudden clarity. After all those years of committing no outward evil, it was her unyielding anger that caused her son to bear unjust karmic burdens. You see, verbal karma need not be spoken. It arises from wounds within that have not healed. The Buddha taught that a single thought of anger is enough to consume a forest of merit. You may visit temples, give offerings, and chant every day, but if your heart still clings to past wrongs, if you sigh lamenting old grievances, if you think of someone with secret bitterness, that is still a hidden fire of anger burning. And the first to be scorched is the child you love most. Do you know why in Buddhism the mother is called the supreme seed of karma? Because the mother plants the first karmic seed in a child. Even if the child does nothing wrong, growing up in an environment of resentment, blame, and harshness, they absorb that atmosphere like breath, becoming a continuation of the mother's own path and creating identical karmic patterns. A compassionate, gentle mother who quietly lets go will grant her child a life of ease, clarity, and lightness. But a mother who, though never speaking harsh words aloud, nightly broods over old pains and silently blames life can unwittingly sow karmic obstacles in her child's heart. And if you think, I no longer hold any grudges, try sitting quietly for a day. Do you still find yourself occasionally recalling an old story with a sigh? Do you sometimes lie in bed silently nursing anger towards someone who once hurt you? Have you ever blurted out, "Life's unfair. Heaven doesn't favor good people"? If so, those are signs your heart has not truly let go. And as long as your heart clings, karma remains. And the first to bear its consequences is your child. So how do you break this cycle? No one can force you to forgive immediately. Forgiveness is a journey, not a mandate. But you can begin by refusing to retell old stories with bitterness. Practice releasing a little at a time. Fewer complaints about life, fewer resentful thoughts toward others. Each day, for just a moment, silently resolve in your mind, I vow to live more lightly so that my child's path in life may be easier. And if you become overwhelmed by anger, write down everything you wish to say, then burn the paper. Leave nothing behind. If old memories resurface and weigh upon your heart, inhale deeply, chant the Buddha's name 10 times, then release it to the wind, gently and serenely. No one can bear your child's karma except you. Remember always, a mother's mind is the earliest feng shui for her child's life. When a mother's heart is bright, her child sees light wherever they go. When a mother's heart is heavy, her child carries stones within. Letting go of resentment is not about pardoning another, but about returning to your child a stream of gentle energy, a slice of peaceful sky, a path with fewer obstacles. This first practice may seem simple, but unless you embody it, even 1,000 prostrations and 10,000 sutras will not prevent your child from living in unexplained suffering. If you have absorbed this teaching, let your heart truly settle. You can feel it settling. When you are ready, we will move on to the second practice. The second guiding light on the journey to transform your children's destiny is to have deep faith in cause and effect, teach them to avoid unwholesome karma, and encourage them to live virtuously and study the Dharma. Let me share something many parents realize only when it's too late. Wealth is not the greatest inheritance, nor is academic knowledge the strongest foundation. What truly matters is faith in the law of karma and a life lived in harmony with moral principles. That is what grounds a child and helps them stand firm. Why deep faith in karma? Because someone with half-hearted belief does good deeds only when observed. Someone without belief lives calculatingly, selfishly. But someone with true faith does goodness as naturally and persistently as breathing, without need for reminders. Yet belief alone is not enough. You must teach it, not with words alone, but through your own way of life. You might tell your child hundreds of times, "Be kind, live with integrity." But if you yourself often tell little lies, exploit others' kindness as a joke, or sarcastically say, "Only fools do good," this world isn't worth living in kindly. You have inadvertently sown a patch of doubt and mistrust in your child's heart. A child raised doubting cause and effect, with a warped sense of right and wrong, will enter the world on unsteady legs. Even if temporarily successful, they will sooner or later slip into harmful habits for lack of a moral foundation. And you, as the mother, may not realize that you were the one who planted that crooked seed. So begin today. You need not preach, simply live rightly. You need not deliver nightly lectures. Just refrain from speaking ill of others in your child's presence. Avoid labeling wrongdoers as nothing. Avoid saying, "Winning is all that matters." Avoid instilling distorted measures of success in your child. Each time you restrain a harsh word, each time you choose forbearance over contention, you set up a quiet mirror in which your child can learn how to live. To teach your child to believe in karma, tell relevant stories. To help them avoid unwholesome actions, practice restraint yourself. To guide them toward the Dharma, embody its precepts. You don't need to visit the temple daily. Simply live each day with enough kindness, honesty, and gentle strength. In this way, you train your child in the path without naming it. The Buddha is not only on the altar. The Buddha is present in a mother's way of engaging with life. Each day, plant in your child a deep trust in the law of karma. It is the compass, the anchor, the light by which they stand firm amid life's storms. Without that faith, when suffering arises, your child will be lost, panicked, and ready to give up. But with an understanding of karma, they will remain calm, turn inward, adjust themselves, and, most importantly, take responsibility for the life they lead. Without knowing what unwholesome karma is, they will unknowingly repeat the mistakes of previous generations. Without learning the Dharma, they will learn only from the world, which does not teach compassion, forgiveness, patience, or unconditional love. Therefore, whether a mother is rich or poor, highly educated or not, living with virtue, reason, and a kind heart can change the destiny of her entire lineage. For moral virtue, once sown in a child's heart, never fades. No matter how far they wander, how many times they stumble, how many wrong turns they take, one day they will recall their mother's words and turn back. That is the deepest merit a mother can leave her child. Not money, nor fame, but faith in cause, effect, and the path of goodness. The second practice stands quietly but firmly like a root. If you have engraved it in your heart, let me guide you to the third practice, where your breath and vows can quietly untangle every knot in your child's karma at its deepest level. The third practice is to recite the name Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya 108 times each day and dedicate the merit to your children. Many think this is merely a devotional habit, but few know that chanting the Buddha's name is not superstition. It is an act that transforms karma. It opens the door to blessings for your children and for yourself with each breath. Pause for a moment and consider. Each day we speak hundreds of words, but how many of them lighten our hearts? How many relieve our children's suffering? Chanting the Buddha's name requires no bells or ritual. Simply sit quietly, close your eyes, and with each breath sincerely recite, Namo Amitabha. Each syllable of Biha seals the tears in your heart. Each set of 18, 36, then 108 recitations is like layers of dust falling away from your mind. And it is precisely then that your children's karmic bonds begin to be miraculously cleansed. The Buddha nodded, his gaze gentle and clear like a tranquil lake under an autumn moon. Dedicated transfer of merit, when done properly, is not mere ceremony but a spiritual energy of immense power. If the practitioner maintains bodily purity, committing no evil, upholding moral precepts, acting with dignity, speech purity, words harmonious, free of falsehood, insult, or anger, and mental purity, a mind without discrimination or craving for fame or gain, sincerely caring only for the spirit's peaceful rebirth, then that dedication truly penetrates all realms to reach the soul in need. Transferring merit shares one's wholesome blessings rather than diminishing them. Though life is brief, when lived in mindfulness and compassion, each day is meaningful. People do not truly fear suffering, but fear suffering without understanding why. Some anxieties smolder for years. Some children, born under auspicious signs, nevertheless endure hardship and failure as they grow. Some families appear warm and stable from the outside, but are cold and distant within, with no one truly knowing another under the same roof. Then we begin to doubt destiny, doubt the law of cause and effect, even doubt our own goodness. We may live quietly and harmlessly, burn incense daily, pray to the Buddhas, honor our ancestors, and perform kind deeds, yet feel unheard. Our children may seem unloved by heaven, but do not hastily judge or abandon hope. Do not think yourself without blessing. Some blessings are not grand, but dwell quietly in the smallest moments. Some obstacles do not come as disasters, but seep in through distorted thoughts and hidden resentments we carry each day. Today I do not come to command you, nor insist that you recite sutras or perform rituals daily. If you are busy or forget once in a while, that is no fault. What I wish is simply to share 5 simple practices that can illuminate an entire household. If a mother, the keeper of her home's flame, each day will generate even one wholesome thought and keep her heart inclined toward goodness, not only will her children's fortunes improve, but her entire family will gradually shine with a wondrous light. This is not magic, but principle, not superstition, but the law of karma. Remember, practicing even 3 of these is not a limit. The more you do, the greater your peace of mind. Listen fully, absorb every word. Perhaps you will not only preserve blessings for your children, but open a new path for your own life. Now settle your mind and listen, for what I am about to share may be the answer you have sought in silence all these years. The first practice: let go of resentment, cultivate compassion, and refrain from hurtful words so that your children inherit wholesome karma. If you think, I no longer hold any grudges, try sitting quietly for a day. Do you still find yourself recalling an old hurt with a sigh? Do you sometimes lie in bed nursing anger towards someone who once hurt you? Have you ever said, life is unfair, heaven doesn't favor good people? Those signs reveal your heart has not truly let go. As long as your mind clings, karma remains, and the first to bear its consequences is your child. No one can force you to forgive immediately. Forgiveness is a journey, not a mandate. But begin by refusing to retell old stories with bitterness. Practice releasing a little at a time. Fewer complaints about life, fewer resentful thoughts toward others. Each day, for a moment, resolve silently. I vow to live more lightly, so my child's path in life may be easier. If overwhelmed by anger, write down all your grievances and burn the paper. Leave nothing behind. If old memories return and weigh heavily on your heart, inhale deeply, chant the Buddha's name 10 times, then release it to the wind, gently and serenely. Remember always, a mother's mind is the earliest feng shui for her child's life. When a mother's heart is bright, her child sees light wherever they go. When a mother's heart is heavy, her child carries stones within. Letting go of resentment is not about pardoning another, but about returning to your child a stream of gentle energy, a slice of peaceful sky, a path with fewer obstacles. This first practice may seem simple, but unless you live it, even 1,000 prostrations and 10,000 sutras will not prevent your child from suffering without understanding why. If you have absorbed this teaching, let your heart truly settle. When you are ready, we will move on to the second practice. The second guiding light on the journey to transform your children's destiny is to have deep faith in cause and effect. Teach them to avoid unwholesome karma and encourage virtuous living and dharma study. Many parents realize too late that wealth is not the greatest inheritance, nor academic knowledge the strongest foundation. True grounding comes from faith in karma and a life lived according to moral principles. That is what steadies a child. Why deep faith in karma? Because someone with half-hearted belief does good deeds only when observed. Someone without belief lives calculatingly and selfishly. But someone with true faith does goodness naturally and persistently, like breathing, without reminders. Yet belief alone is not enough. You must teach it through your own way of life. You can tell your child hundreds of times, be kind, live with integrity. But if you often tell small lies, exploit others' kindness, or say, only fools do good, life is not worth living kindly. You sow a patch of doubt and mistrust in your child's heart. A child raised doubting karma, and with a warped sense of right and wrong enters the world on unsteady legs. Even if temporarily successful, they will slip into harmful habits without a moral foundation. And you, as the mother, may not realize you planted that crooked seed. So begin today. You need not preach, simply live rightly. You need not deliver nightly lectures. Just refrain from speaking ill of others in your child's presence. Do not label wrongdoers as nothing. Do not say, winning is all that matters. Do not instill distorted measures of success in your child. Each time you restrain a harsh word, each time you choose forbearance over contention, you set a quiet mirror in which your child learns how to live. To teach your child about karma, tell stories. To help them avoid unwholesome actions, practice restraint yourself. To guide them toward the Dharma, embody its precepts. You need not visit the temple daily. Live each day with enough kindness, honesty, and gentle strength. In this way, you train your child without naming it. The Buddha is not only on the altar. The Buddha is present in a mother's way of engaging with life. Each day, plant in your child a deep trust in the law of karma. It is the compass, the anchor, the light by which they stand firm amid life's storms. Without that faith, when suffering arrives, they will be lost, panicked, and ready to give up. But with understanding of karma, they remain calm, turn inward, adjust themselves, and, most importantly, take responsibility for their life. That is why morality, once sown in a child's heart, never fades. No matter how far they wander or how many times they stumble, they will one day recall their mother's words and turn back. That is the deepest merit a mother can leave her child. Not money, nor fame, but faith in cause, effect, and the path of goodness. The third practice is a silent but powerful key that can open the way to radiant blessings unseen by ordinary eyes. Recite the name, Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya, 108 times each day and dedicate the merit to your children. Many think chanting is mere devotion, but few know it transforms karma. It opens the door to blessings for both your children and yourself with each breath. Pause and consider. Each day we speak hundreds of words. How many truly lighten our hearts? How many relieve our children's suffering? Chanting requires no bells or ritual. Simply sit, close your eyes, and with each breath sincerely recite, Namo Amitabhaya Buddhaya. Each syllable seals wounds in your heart. Each set of 18, 36, then 108 recitations lets layers of life's dust fall away. And at that moment, your children's karmic bonds begin to be miraculously cleansed. But listen carefully to this. Many dedicated practitioners only understand after years that the merit from Buddha recitation, when properly transferred, can transform a child's karma without needing to seek out fortune tellers. Someone once asked me, "If I chant, will my child excel in school?" I replied, "Not necessarily top of the class, but if you sincerely chant daily and transfer the merit to your child, they will at least avoid bad influences, negative friends, and tempting detours. They may not become a dazzling star, but they will walk the right path, and that is the greatest destiny a life can have. But do not chant to request rewards. Do not chant for luck, grades, or favors from the Buddhas. Chanting is to transform your own mind. When your mind changes, the energy field of your household changes. When the energy around your child shifts, ancestors and benevolent spirits are more easily moved to protect. Do not underestimate the power of a daily chant. It is not just sound but light, a signal that connects you and your child to the vast universe of goodness. That is why I said in the title, practicing just 3 of these 5 daily, a mother secures lifelong blessings for her children, ancestral protection, and uninterrupted good fortune. To chant in the right way is more than devotion. It opens a bridge between a mother's heart and the flow of karmic blessings. You need not be perfect. Simply devote a few mindful breaths, even while washing dishes, awaiting the school bus, or lying in bed before sleep. Reciting the Buddha's name up to 108 times, or fewer, so long as your heart is fully offered. Then clasp your hands and transfer the merit. May this humble merit become a light of protection for my child, helping them avoid harm, encounter kindness, keep body and mind peaceful and clear, and never lose their way. It sounds simple, but in monastic practice this is a profound rite, saturated with spiritual power. Not every deity intervenes. Ancestors see the sincerity of the heart, and Buddhas respond only to truly virtuous minds. You may not realize it, but many mothers who steadfastly chant and transfer merit have witnessed their formerly troubled, angry, or underperforming children become gentle, well-behaved, and prosperous. Not because the Buddhas granted a specific boon, but because those mothers cleansed their own hearts through daily recitation, sending a stream of nourishing light to their children beyond mere words. A mother who chants with mindful, awake devotion is, in effect, shielding her child from karmic winds and life storms that the child alone could not withstand. That is the 3rd practice, a silent key capable of unlocking an entire path of radiant blessings unseen by the naked eye. You may have heard of mothers in olden days who, whenever their child traveled far, would prostrate before the Buddha, recite sutras, burn incense, and call their child's name on every breath. Not out of superstition, but because they understood that prayer is the subtlest form of protection, quiet, unassuming, yet its power penetrates every cell with blessings. You may have seen children who are neither brilliant nor quick, but whose lives remain peaceful, who meet kind people and avoid pitfalls, not by chance. Somewhere, there is likely a mother or father reciting that child's name with all their heart each day. And if you ask me, I'm just an ordinary person, does praying really work? I would gently answer, whether it is effective in worldly terms is not what matters. What matters is whether you have the sincerity to do it day after day. Karma does not hear words. Karma perceives the heart. Your prayers need not be heard by anyone. If they come from genuine sincerity, heaven and earth will know, the Buddhas will know, and your child, by some invisible means, will feel the devotion. No need for loud words or an audience. Each sincere prayer is a ray of light that wraps around their thin karma, dispelling harmful forces drawn toward them. Every mindful breath of a mother forms an invisible embrace that shields her child from disasters not yet formed. The 4th practice does not require you to speak at length or change your lifestyle. Simply once a day, when you have a quiet moment, sit in stillness and call your child's name with one simple, clear, heartfelt prayer. This practice is especially powerful for children in rebellious or unstable phases, when words no longer reach their ears, but a prayer can penetrate their karmic energies. Try it. You need not overhaul your life. Just set aside one brief moment each day to sit, breathe deeply, speak your child's name, and wish them well. In doing so, you subtly place a seal of protection upon your child's destiny. If the first 3 practices form the foundation, then this fourth is the beam of light that links a mother's heart to her child's fate. No one may see it, but ancestors bear witness, divine beings respond. That is why I said that if a mother faithfully practices 3 of these 5 steps each day, her children will enjoy lifelong blessings, ancestral guardianship, and unbroken good fortune. Now we come to the final practice. The 5th is for the entire lineage, not only for your child, but for grandparents, parents, those who came before, and those yet to come. If you still have the affinity, join me for this last step, for here you may come to understand what you have inherited and what you will leave behind. The 5th practice is to dedicate each day's wholesome deeds to your parents, children, and ancestors. There is a quiet truth which, once understood, transforms how we live every day. We do not live in isolation. We exist within a current of karma, blessings, and invisible connections among generations. Imagine a newborn child who has done nothing wrong, never harmed anyone, never created major karma, yet is born with illness, hardship, deprivation, or faces unexpected calamities. Why does this happen? Perhaps the child bears unresolved family karma, or perhaps they have been sent to resolve that karma. Do not rush to blame ancestors. If karma is inherited, so too are blessings. If burdens exist, so do seeds of goodness quietly beginning to blossom. And if you see this, you are the one who can transform it. Every kind deed you do each day, whether a gentle word, a small helpful action, a single recitation of Namo Amitabha, or refraining from anger, accumulates merit. The Buddha taught that filial piety is the foundation of all virtue. Among the countless ways to express filial devotion, one of the most profound and subtle is to dedicate your daily merits to your grandparents, parents, and ancestors, so that you all may support one another, uplift together, and dissolve karmic bonds. Why is this so vital? Because not everyone in your lineage has affinity for the Dharma. Not everyone reaches awakening in time. Some pass away in ignorance, resentment, or heavy karma unresolved. If one person in the family truly practices kindness, virtue, and then dedicates merit, that person becomes a small lamp illuminating the path for countless lost souls. And you, the mother reading these lines, may be that person. You need not perform grand deeds. Simply today help someone. Hold on to one kind word. Choose one benevolent action. Then inhale deeply and mentally offer. May this humble merit be dedicated to my living parents, my deceased grandparents, my ancestors of many generations, and all spirits still burdened by unresolved karma. May any grievances be resolved. May heavy karma be lightened. May our entire family awaken in clarity, pass on affinity, and sow seeds of blessing for future descendants. With that single intention, you open a door that connects the present to the past, dissolving what was thought forgotten. Have you heard? A family that accumulates virtue blossoms in its branches. A family that creates karma must burden its offspring. The reverse is also true. If past generations created negative karma, but someone now stands to correct it through practice and dedication, that person becomes the turning point. You become the one who restores the flow of blessings, laying a new brick of peace for your lineage. You could be that person. A mother who dedicates merit not only loves her children with her heart, but also loves her parents and ancestors with her wisdom. She understands that her children need not only love, but a lineage purified at its root. If you practice this 5th step each day, not only will your children reap benefits, but you will also repay the countless debts of gratitude to those who brought you to this moment. And you will prepay blessings for the generations yet to walk the path you helped prepare. Dedicating merit is the deepest kindness one can offer ancestors, and the most lasting invisible gift a mother can leave her children. Thus, we have covered 5 practices, seemingly simple, yet if practiced faithfully each day, they place your children on a foundation of blessing, draw ancestral support, and bring unbroken good fortune as naturally as breathing. You need not complete all 5 at once. Sincerity in any of them is worth more than thousands of empty actions. Now that you have reached this point, let your mind rest briefly and ask yourself, which practice can I begin today? Blessings do not arise from grand gestures. They begin in the heart, with a quiet choice, with a small prayer. And perhaps, by beginning today, you and your family will embark on a profoundly different journey from this very moment onward. If you have listened this far, allow me one final word, not to conclude, but to open a new beginning. Your having heard these 5 practices in full is no coincidence, but a great auspicious connection, a deep karmic affinity between you and the Dharma, between you and the path of transformation, between you and the light of compassion. Not everyone is fortunate enough to understand that every breath of a mother, every silent prayer, and every quiet good deed is secretly shaping her child's destiny and completing the family's circle of blessings. If today a single phrase brought tears to your eyes, or if anything here made you think of your child, your mother, or your ancestors, please do not keep it to yourself.